What would happen if a fully armed modern soldier stood against 10,000 ancient soldiers armed with swords and spears? This is one of those questions that has probably crossed everyone's mind at least once, and maybe you've simulated this battle in your imagination. But in this video from Animato, we're going to break this scenario down with precise calculations and see whether our one-man modern army actually has any real chance against 10,000 ancient warriors. It's very important what kind of army we summon. Roman legionaries? Vikings? Genghis Khan's cavalry? Ancient Arab forces? The army of Cyrus the Great? Let's not overcomplicate it. We'll choose one of the most disciplined and tactically organized forces in history, Roman legionaries. Now close your eyes for a second and picture this. On one side, a fully armed modern soldier carrying the most advanced weapons one person can realistically carry. On the other side, an army of 10,000. First, let's see what our hero actually has. When we say weapons one person can carry, what do we really mean? If he's entrenched and prepared beforehand, the story changes completely, compared to just randomly appearing in the middle of an open field. We'll assume the ideal case, a strong defensive position, and sufficient ammunition prepared in advance. So what's his primary weapon? In my opinion, something like an M249 SAW light machine gun. Why? Because it has a high rate of fire, it feeds from belt ammunition, and you don't constantly need to swap magazines. Let's assume he has a box of ammo next to him. How much? Let's say around 2,000 to 3,000 rounds of 5.56mm ammunition. This beast has a theoretical rate of fire of around 850 rounds per minute, but theoretical. In reality, if you dump fire continuously, the barrel would overheat within seconds. In practice, to maintain accuracy and prevent damage, you fire in short, controlled bursts, maybe around 100 to 200 effective rounds per minute. Now here's something important. The barrel overheats dramatically. Machine gunners typically carry spare barrels. After firing roughly 200 to 300 rounds, whether continuous fire for a minute or two or intermittent bursts, the barrel literally glows red. It must be replaced. And replacing a barrel takes around 30 seconds to 1 minute. If there's no spare barrel, then you wait for it to cool, and that means giving the enemy time. So let's assume our hero has 2 or 3 spare barrels as well. But the machine gun can't do everything. When it's cooling, or during a barrel swap, or when you need more precision at closer range, you need a secondary rifle. What's better than an M4A1 or something similar? He carries 15 to 20 30-round magazines. That's around 450 to 600 additional rounds. And realistically, he can't carry much more than that. This rifle can also fire fully automatic, around 700 to 900 rounds per minute. Again, theoretical. But it's far more practical for semi-automatic precision shots or very short bursts. A realistic sustained rate? Maybe 40 to 60 accurate rounds per minute. It also overheats after several hundred rounds, but not as quickly or severely as the machine gun. What else does he have? Grenades. And these little explosive devices can be incredibly effective, especially against dense formations. Let's say 4 or 5 standard M67 grenades. Each one can be lethal within about 5 meters and cause serious casualties within 15. If the enemy is packed together like ants, a single grenade could easily take out 10, maybe 15 soldiers. And finally, when all primary ammunition is gone and the enemy is at arm's length, a sidearm, something like a Glock 17 or a Beretta M9, 5 or 6 magazines, 15 to 17 rounds each. That's around 80 to 100 rounds for absolute last defense. But this is truly for the final moment. Under that kind of pressure, maybe 2 to 3 seconds are needed for each accurate shot. All right, equipment is set. Now let's enter the battlefield. Remember, we're assuming Roman forces with no archers. Because if there were archers, or if this were Genghis Khan's cavalry, the calculations would be completely different. Imagine our hero entrenched in a strong position, on top of a low hill overlooking an open field, or inside a narrow pass that forces the enemy into a funnel. Because if they can attack from 360 degrees, one man simply cannot survive. The army of 10,000 appears in the distance, a massive black wave moving toward him, at first slowly, then accelerating. Let's assume they run at about 15 kilometers per hour. In reality, it would be slower, due to armor, terrain, and obstacles, but we'll use this estimate. Phase 1, 800 to 400 meters. When the first wave reaches 800 meters, they enter machine gun range. The M249 roars to life. 5.56 rounds leave the barrel at nearly 900 meters per second. Wooden shields? Pierced like paper. Thin metal armor? Little resistance. The deafening sound alone could crush morale, but we assume these soldiers ignore fear and keep advancing. With an effective rate of 100 rounds per minute, and assuming every 2 to 3 rounds drops one soldier, in the first minute, he eliminates around 30 to 50 men. The enemy advances at roughly 4 meters per second. That's 240 meters per minute. So to move from 800 to 400 meters takes about 1 minute and 40 seconds. In that time, including one barrel swap, he could eliminate another 100 to 150 soldiers. Phase 2, 400 to 100 meters. Now they reach 400 meters. Accuracy improves. Almost every burst finds a target. Pressure increases. He fires faster, while monitoring barrel heat. Casualty rate could reach 100 per minute. To move from 400 to 100 meters takes about 1 minute and 15 seconds. In that window, with another barrel change, around 200 more are eliminated. But now a problem emerges. In front of the advancing army, a pile of bodies begins forming. If each body averages 30 centimeters in height, after 300 to 400 casualties in a narrow corridor, that pile becomes 1 to 1.5 meters high, a horrifying physical barrier. Those behind must climb over it. Speed drops, maybe cut in half, 2 meters per second. Phase 3, 100 meters to close contact. They reach 100 meters. This is the ideal range for the M4 and grenades. He switches weapons, semi-auto precision fire, and throws the first grenade. Boom! Explosion, screams, fragments. Each grenade incapacitates around 20 soldiers. 5 grenades? Roughly 100 more out of action. The machine gun re-enters the fight after cooling. At this distance, nearly every round hits, but pressure is extreme. Hands sweating, heart pounding, the smell of blood and gunpowder everywhere. Let's assume 2,000 additional rounds are fired in this final phase. At close range, maybe every 1.5 rounds kills one soldier. That's roughly 1,300 more casualties. Total so far, 150 in Phase 1, 200 in Phase 2, 100 from grenades, 1,300 in Phase 3, approximately 1,750 dead. They occupy around 850 square meters of ground. If the front width is 20 meters, that's a 40-meter long mound of bodies. Height? Now possibly 2, 3, even 4 meters tall. A mountain of flesh and armor. Phase 4, final meters. Primary ammunition is gone. He is exhausted, possibly losing hope, but the sidearm remains. About 100 rounds. Over 8,000 enemies still alive, climbing the mountain of corpses. Slowly, slipping, struggling. He fires. Each shot drops one more. Another 100 fall. Total casualties? About 1,850. 18% of the army, but over 8,000 remain. No ammunition left. Only a knife. From his perspective, the battlefield is a corridor of death. From 800 meters down to his trench, the ground is layered with bodies. Farther back, scattered. Closer in, stacked. A grotesque wall of corpses. 2, 3, maybe 4 meters high. They climb it, as more bodies fall on top of them. A scene from a horror film, but real. First wave moved at full speed. Second wave slowed to 3 meters per second. Third and fourth waves, almost 1 meter per second, like moving through mud. But eventually, he runs out of ammunition. They reach him. Perhaps he takes down a few more with a knife, but it changes nothing. In reality, even a fully equipped modern soldier in a perfect defensive position cannot defeat an army of 10,000. The limiting factor is ammunition, weapon overheating, physical exhaustion, psychological collapse, even though we barely modeled that part. Creating this kind of content takes a team effort. If you enjoyed this breakdown, support Animato with a like and subscribe. Thank you for your support.